Hello, everyone. I wanted to take a few minutes and discuss with you an overview of this class and the process of system analysis and design. And this will go under the introduction. And this is a diagram from chapter 2. It's figure 2.7. And this diagram give you the entire picture of what we are trying to do and what we are going to learn in this class, and actually building on what we did in the first class, System Analysis and Design 1. So let's take a deeper look and zoom into in some of the things on this diagram. First, what is this diagram describe? On the vertical line, on the horizontal line, this diagram describes time. So this point here is the time zero of the start of the project. This class, System Analysis and Design, helps you understand what to do when somebody come to you and say, I have this problem, can you develop this software for me? And then, because you are an IT professional and this is your job, you will say, sure, I would love to, and you take from them the problem. Then what? What do you do next? So this point here, the lower left corner on this diagram represent time zero, the time when you received from the person the task of developing or the problem, and you know that you need to develop a software for that problem. When you make that arrangement with the person, the first thing is that they tell you, I need it done by that particular time. So they give you a delivery time. So they say, here is this problem, I need it in 3 months, I need it in 5 months, 6 months. You're going to negotiate that with them. So the right lower corner point here, this is the deployment point, or this is the final time when the project is over. So this point here is project is over, is done, you're ready to hand it to the client or to the person that gave you the problem. In between, this is the project life cycle. By a life cycle, we mean the life of the project from the time of inception, when the project is born, when the project is created, to the time where you have to end the project, so it comes back to end and the project not existent. So this is why it's a cycle. You start from no project and you end at no project again. What's in between? This is the subject of system analysis and design, the subject of project management. There are so many areas that goes on between these two projects. There was a report 2 years ago about a system that the federal government was creating to connect the FBI offices across the nation and database, a very sophisticated system. It made the news because it was 2 years overdue and several $100 million above budget, which means that when the time of the ending of the project arrived, the project was not complete and it had to be extended one time, extended again, and so on. And of course, the money to spend, because the time extended, the money will be even more. The money in a software project like this probably going mostly for people. So anyway, we're trying to help you in this subject to avoid situation like this. When you create projects at time zero, you have a good understanding of what it takes to reach the final launch of the project or the final time, and in between you have a good estimate of what it takes and the budget and so on and so forth. So this is the horizontal direction which represents the time of the project. So what is that vertical direction? The vertical direction represents the activities that you need to do to take the project from a piece of paper that describes the problem until you have a software, a fully functional and tested software that you can deploy to the client. So these activities, starting from the top, The top means the high level, which the problem, which could be from the beginning here all the way on the top left corner, would be you had a meeting with the client, or your boss had a meeting with the client, and they decided to take that problem as a project. So then what comes next is, what is the first activity that you need to do? Then when you're done with it, what is the next activity? Then when you're done with it, what's the next activity? And so on and so forth. And these are all the different activities that need to happen, and some of them build on one another. So you can't design before you get a requirement, you can't test before you implement, you can't deploy before you test, you can't configure before you deploy, and so on. And you have the project management and the environment. Each one of those is represented by a box that cuts across the entire width of this diagram. And there is, as you can see here, a curve and a shaded area underneath that curve. What this tells you is the percentage or the amount of activities that you are spending on this particular the amount of time or effort that you are spending on this particular activity. So you can look here, for instance, business modeling, and you can see that business modeling starts when you see this shaded area. This means that there is activity going on. When you see no shaded area, meaning that there is no activity going on. So as you may expect, towards the end of the project, there isn't really any business modeling. In the beginning of the project, there is some business modeling. Same goes for the requirement. Same goes for the design, the implementation, which is coding, writing the software itself, testing, deployment of the project, configuration, change management, project management, and the environment of the project. Now, this list of disciplines, if you look at this diagram in different textbooks and so on, you may see some different activities here. You may add some based on what needs to happen for your project, but there are a group of those activities that are going to be constant. They're always going to be there. From business modeling all the way to deployment, configuration, this all always going to be there. So when you cut across a slice of time, a vertical slice of time, and look through this diagram, what do you see? You see that this particular slice of time would represent, depending on the scale of this diagram, probably a week, maybe a day, maybe several hours, maybe a month, depending on what this life time is. But you can see that within that slice of time, there is activity or there is effort spent on almost every single activity or discipline that you have over here on the left. What do I mean by this? That this slice of time saying that I'm spending very little time on business modeling. I'm spending quite some time on requirement, more time on design, on implementation, testing, deployment, configuration change, project management, and environment. What does this mean? Do I mean that I am doing everything at the same time? The answer is yes. You are doing everything at the same time together. So what this shows here, which we call here an iteration, that the entire project life cycle, there are two ways to look at completing it. One way is to look at the horizontal boxes, meaning that I will take this entire project lifetime from time zero to the end time, and all of this will be one time slot, which means that I will take business modeling, spend all the time I need to spend in business modeling first, then move to requirements, then move to design. The other way is to cut the lifetime into vertical slices. So instead of cutting the project into horizontally, depending on the function or the activity that I need to do, I cut it vertically based on time and do all the activities within that vertical time slot. This is called the iterative development. Iterative because the entire project lifetime is divided into iterations, as you see in front of you, and development because you learn as you go. I'm sorry, I scrolled down early. You learn as you go. So when the project is divided into one iteration and you start here, you have some understanding of the business model. You gather some requirement, not all the requirement. Based on your understanding and the requirement you gathered, you do some preliminary design. You implement the ideas you had in that preliminary design. You test it. You show it to the client. You learn from that and you go and start another iteration. In the other iteration, you do a little bit more of business modeling, more of requirements, more of design, more of implementation and testing. Then you go back, learn from the iteration, you go to another one, learn from it, you go to the other one, learn from it, you go to the other one, and so on until you reach the completion of the project. This way, your client is learning with you as you go. In this book and this class, System Analysis and Design 1 and 2, we're focusing on the steps before the coding. Coding, you learn coding in the IT program, in the programming classes, in the enterprise web development classes, and we have several classes that focus on coding. This class focuses on these 3 steps before coding, in preparing or transforming the problem statement or the problem you got from the client to something that a coder can take and write Java code or C# or whatever code that need to be written there. We're not going to cover coding in this class probably at all because you learn it somewhere else. But as you graduate from the program, you will learn about all of these in different classes. So as you look into this diagram, especially if you are in the software track, and I know we have some students outside the IT program, but if you get, you probably have similar classes that will cover the other areas as well. So we're going to learn about business modeling, about requirement, and which these two were the emphasis of the first System Analysis and Design class. We're going to review them quickly in the first 2-3 weeks and then focus primarily on design in this particular class. Thank you, and we will have a continuation to discuss the phases of that project life cycle.